For years, I divided my spendings into two categories: fixed expenses and everything else. Fixed expenses were the bills I could predict: my mortgage, car payment, insurance, and utilities. Everything else, groceries, gas, Easy Pass, and whatever came up during the month, I consider variable. And because it was variable, I assumed it was impossible to predict. But once I started tracking it, I realized something I had never considered. Variable doesn't necessarily mean unpredictable. In this video, I'll show you what happened when I track my day-to-day spendings, why those expenses were more predictable than expected, and how seeing those patterns can help you create more realistic plan for your income. When I began tracking every purchase by category, I expected the numbers to change significantly from one month to the next. But that wasn't what I found. At one supermarket, I spent close to $300 per week all the time. At another supermarket, I spent around $60 a week all the time. Gas and Easy Pass together came approximately to $100 a month. And these numbers were surprisingly consistent. When my spendings did increase, there was usually a clear reason. Maybe I bought something I didn't normally purchase. Or perhaps it was during the holidays when we prepare special meals and naturally spent more on groceries. Even those increases weren't completely random. I knew which times of the year they were more likely to happen. The problem was that I had been treating all variable spendings as though it were unpredictable. I thought fixed means the bills with a set payment or due date, while everything else was too uncertain to include in a real plan. But these are two different things. A fixed expense is usually locked into a payment or agreement. Variable spendings isn't locked in, but that doesn't mean it has no pattern. My grocery bill wasn't fixed by a contract, yet it was one of the most consistent numbers in my household spending. That distinction changed the way I plan my income. If you believe your day-to-day spending is impossible to predict, you don't set aside a realistic amount for it. You pay your bills and hope enough money will be available when you need groceries or gas. But once you see that your spendings follows a pattern, you can include it in your plan. You're not guessing every time you receive a paycheck. For me, it felt like removing a blindfold. The money hasn't suddenly changed. I could simply see more clearly where it had been going all along. I also think there is a stigma about tracking money. Sometimes people assume that if you track every expense, you must not earn enough, or you must have a problem with careless spending. But tracking your money doesn't automatically mean something is wrong. It gives you the information you need to determine what is working and where the actual problem might be. I was a high school teacher for 23 years, and I don't remember seeing a class that taught students how to manage the money they would eventually earn. I didn't see that. We encourage young people to attend college so they can qualify for better paying careers. Then as adults, we look for jobs that pay more or work toward a higher salary. Those are decisions influenced by money. But once we begin earning that money, many of us had never been taught how to create a plan for it. So the paycheck arrives and we spread it across our bills. We pay a little here and a little there, month after month, and we call that a plan. Even when we aren't making meaningful progress, tracking my spendings helped me see that many of the expenses I had labeled unpredictable were actually predictable enough to plan around. Here's what I suggest you try. Track your variable spending for 1 full month. Write down every purchase, the amount and the category. Don't try to change anything yet, and don't judge what you see. Then continue for a second month and compare the totals. Look at groceries, transportation, household purchases, and the other expenses you normally consider unpredictable. If a number changes, identify what you purchased differently or where there was a seasonal reason. You may discover what I did. Your variable expenses may change, but that doesn't mean they are random. Once you can see the pattern, you can stop guessing and start building a plan around the way you actually spend money. Thank you.